Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tarot for Our Times. I'm Sarah, your medium on the go. And I have to say that throughout this whole thing, from I want to say investigations and indictments and that sort of thing, and I know I'm not the only one, that I just can't help but to compare this whole thing to Watergate. And I'm old enough to have remembered it very, very well and to watch the hearings. And oops, excuse me. Now you could know I don't edit these things. Okay, no, so I have seen some similarities. I've seen some differences. And this is going to be sort of my series within the series of current events. I don't know if I was thinking maybe I should have like Watergate Wednesday or do it regularly, but I'm thinking it may, and I'm going to consider that, but it may be more of as things pop up to remind me to make the comparisons. I'm not so sure it's going to go on the same timeline, but to give you a very quick review. Nixon got elected in a landslide. That's the difference. He got elected in a landslide, and this one didn't exactly. The popular vote was very, very close. And so, at any rate, he was elected in 72, and it seemed as though not long after he took the oath of office, the story started to grow. There were deliveries to the New York Times, the Washington Post. There were leaks here, leaks there, and that there had been a big cover up, and that although it was suspected that Nixon might have been involved in that, nobody, God bless the press, nobody really looked into that. That probably could have saved us a lot of trouble. But so he gets inaugurated in 1973, and it wasn't too long after that that the investigation, I look at it as like a snowball rolling down the hill. So that it just kind of picked up a lot of momentum. When I think of it, it seemed like a very long time. I mean, I went to demonstrations in Union Square and Central Park about impeach Nixon, and it seemed like this was taking a long time. And basically, then the hearings were in the summer of '73. That was only a months after he was sworn into office. And I remember going into, you went to any bar you went into, that was on TV. To hell with the Yankees or anything else, that was on TV, and everybody was really glued to it. So we went through that. There were prosecutors fired or quit. There were tapes found, all kinds of stuff that just built up and built up. So 1973 was all about the summer with the hearings, more information and more information. And then uh, Barry Goldwater made the trip to the White House and told, because they were starting to gear up for the impeachment hearings. And he told Nixon, we have the votes in the Senate to convict. I mean, they hadn't even, I don't even think the House had sent over the articles yet, but Barry Goldwater said, you might want to resign. And then that hot day in August, he resigned. And when I think of it, that was less than 2 years, 2 years before he was campaigning. That's the thing. It happened very quickly. And a lot of my colleagues and I have been saying, um, with this one, that I don't think he's going to last the term. And I'm not quite brave, and I'm calling it for less than 2 years. I have there are other psychics that are kind of calling it for uh, the spring, possibly, but way less time. I'm going to say it would be very interesting if it were to happen like next year, around like a year in 26 in the summertime. these readings develop, I'll see what happens. But I'd love to talk to some astrologers who could say where would all the planets and all this. I mean, are they similar? I wouldn't be surprised if there were certain days when they are similar. And we've already had some hearings. There may be more that begin there. With all the pardons that took place for Liz Cheney and the rest of them. I wouldn't be surprised if there could be some hearings in the Senate. So what I want to do for today is to first go over the cards. Now, as I made up the thumbnail, I was thinking, what? Okay, so we're looking at that. Look in both of them when they won and they were inaugurated, and both of them are hollow victory. So I came up with the Six of Rods in reverse, which is the false victory. Nixon won, but he was out in he was out in a year and a half, I guess about a year and a half, a year and 3/4. Um, this one, 47, he um, he may have looked like a little bit of a landslide for the Electoral College, but not the popular vote. And there are some questions that have been coming up. I'll let the others read on that. But there are questions about some funny business with Musk and the Russians and all that sort of thing. So at any rate, and there's been with all the buyer's remorse, it's a rather hollow victory. So you have to look at these two guys and say, I mean, was it really a victory? I mean, Nixon resigned in shame. So as I remember, kind of, with justice in reverse, boy, this fits this one to a T, because you're wondering if he's ever going to see justice. But this is about interesting karma that could come down the road. Nixon tried all the stuff that he got away with, but we had a more reasonable Supreme Court, and they did not anoint him the king like this one has done. But he got pardoned. He got pardoned by Ford. But but I think he did have to step down, and it was I saw the whole, I remember seeing it, and it was kind of done in shame. And the guy, he was practically crying and talking about his mother and everything. So I thought, boy, I wouldn't want to be him now. So there is the element of people waking up. I remember a friend of mine who went to the polls with me. She voted for Nixon. I voted for McGovern. And she was the one that said, as this thing developed, I can't believe he didn't know anything about this. So people like her, they kind of went over, they kind of started bailing on him pretty badly. And this is very similar to it. So it's kind of an awakening and realizing that they made the wrong choice. So we have that. And then the whole energy of the Five of Cups. And it was a sad time for both, no matter what side of the fence you were on. It's a sad time. And I think a lot of people right now are in the sense of grieving and feeling as though something has died. Now, I remember back in the Nixon days when we thought that maybe this was the death of democracy, as people are feeling now. Because I remember that summer afternoon when the headlines in the paper was Nixon to give address tonight. And somebody said at my job that, well, he may come out in an army uniform and, declare a coup d'etat, whatever. And knowing him without any principles, I wasn't really too, that didn't happen that way. But we thought, well, it's still in the realm of possibility. So we did have those fears, because that's something that might have happened. But fortunately, it didn't. I think with this one, it would probably happen. So I want to look at. I want to do a reading comparing the victories and about history repeating itself and just seeing in general. Just seeing kind of in general what's. Excuse me. Yeah, what the energy is around here. I don't. Hopefully, I'm not picking up a cold. Okay, so I'm using the Gilded Tarot Royale with the the Moon Garden Tarot, and then my clarifiers will be good old White Rider. I'll get those out here. So it's just something that I'm thinking of, that there are differences and there are similarities. So I'm going to just shuffle this up a little bit, and let's see what the energy is around. Maybe I should do it for each, for a Nixon and a who. I can't even say his name. You know who card. So okay, let's get this down here. So it's going to be a little bit different. So okay, in the past we have Nixon with the Nine of Cups, and I'm going to talk about in their victories, that sort of thing. Okay, this is very interesting because the Nine of Cups is about the very complacent and smug merchant, and I'm going to say that Nixon, when he was inaugurated in '73, he was very smug. I said, "Boy, I think I avoided a big, I think I kind of avoided a big scandal. There may be some rumors that I don't know if that was a time when Ellsworth went to the New York Times with all this stuff." But he was feeling pretty smug and complacent, which I think the present one is too. But things change very quickly, and so then we have. Okay, so then for the other one we have justice. That's telling me that he's feeling the energy's carrying over. He's feeling pretty smug that he has really worked the justice system. So I'm going to do something interesting, and I'm going to do the energy that crosses both of them at the same time. Okay, I think these are pretty well shuffled up. So energetically, we have the Six of Swords at the beginning, um, which is the moving on, going from the choppy waters into the smooth one. And this is kind of interesting because we have a dragon here. Yeah, this deck is kind of an interesting one. So I guess here we've got the dragon, and then coming out of the swords, coming out of butterflies. So this is interesting. I think they both feel as though, okay, we've made it this far, we're inaugurated, we're safe, the worst of this is over, which is kind of an illusion because these swords are kind of hanging in midair, waiting to come down. So, underlying all of this for both of them, let's see what we have here. Strength in reverse. Then we have, oh boy. And, okay, alrighty. So, underlying this whole thing in the beginning is, I'm going to say that I would say a little bit in the past, thinking of, it's a false sense of strength. And this is a woman. This is a female card. It's in reverse. I'm going to say this read to me, and considering these two guys, it looks to me like it's a false sense. It's like false. It's like that macho stuff kind of thing going on. It's a false sense of strength. Um, but I will say that as time goes on, there is both of these guys consider themselves victims, but it's victims of their own making. And I do remember as things got bad that Nixon was really hitting the sauce really, really hard. and God only knows what he's doing. But I'm going to say that they were always ready, even in winning, always ready to go into victim mode. But then I'm going to say that underneath we have the Knight of Wands, and really thinking they were some pretty hot stuff and ready to charge forward. But I'm going to say that in their complacency, if they feel like they really work the system, that the problem being is that they're a little bit too overconfident here. So, and this guy can have a lack of focus. And I know in the present day version of this is that he doesn't know when to keep his big mouth shut. That's going to be his undoing. And I think Nixon, Nixon could play it closer to the vest a little bit better, but I think sometimes that he actually, would spill the bean. Probably when he had a little bit too much to drink, he could spill the beans. So in the past, we have the Queen of Swords in reverse. And this is kind of like an adversarial position of, I would say both men have in common that they get intimidated by very strong women. And I'm going to say that I don't know if it's the mother thing or I think it could be the mother thing, is that, both of them probably had mothers that could probably cut, they were close, but they could cut them down to size pretty easily. So I will have to say, but yet they might have been, it's sort of like going back and forth between, you know, abuse, psychologically abusive, but then spoiling them to make up for that, and kind of setting the whole thing that maybe they were entitled and they could get away with stuff. So this is the past. Then we have the King of Rods, and that's saying that that this is kind of maybe, I would say, at least with Nixon, the kind of a tragic element is that he had what it took to be an inspiring leader and probably was in his younger days, but then something went wrong. That could have been true with the younger one, too. It's kind of like having all the advantages of being something, but then some bad choices come along. So let's see, we're going to have the moving up to the present now, the energy of the, okay. King of Cups in reverse. This is very interesting because as things got kind of heated, Nixon, as I say, Nixon was hitting he was drinking pretty heavily. I think that was fairly, as a Watergate thing um, kind of progressed, and court cards with cups in reverse indicate substance abuse and or psychological problems, and I'm going to say this fits the two of these guys to a T, only in different ways. So I'm going to say that um, he was vulnerable to drinking. This one, with the Adderall and all that, God only knows what those doctors have been giving him. And I have to say, for entertainment purposes only, when I get into this area. So I'm speculating that that it was like a loss of emotional. That here they were in this king position. It's kind of like loss of emotional stability and abusing substances. So that never makes anything better. And so this is kind of it both in the presence of when they first took office, but then it's not too long before stuff is really started to come at them. Um, and actually, Nixon, as much as I didn't like him, he did do some things like for freezing with the inflation, freezing everything until until we could get more stabilized in the economy. It was wages, prices, everything. But boy, I remember I got a great paycheck when I got all that back stuff from the raises that were frozen. So, but at any rate, I would say that it didn't take long with this character over here. I mean, as soon as the clock struck 12, there are lawsuits coming in, and they are coming for his executive orders. They're just coming, coming, coming. I will say that a lot of this stuff is going to lead to more problems with him, and and maybe leading back to some of the stuff he got away with. So I'm going to say I don't think in the long run he's going to get away with stuff. So I'm going to do the conscious thought. Oh, the conscious thoughts of both of them at this point of the game, as far as the beginning of the term conscious thoughts and subconscious thoughts. Okay, so conscious is can't make this stuff up. They're in the throes of celebrating their victories, and there's nothing like an inauguration, as wussed out as this one, even surrounded by his oligarchs. There's nothing like a inauguration to once again take another victory lap. But I'm going to see, there's something interesting in this. See, this is interesting because people in this particular one are turning their backs. All you do is see them in the shadow. So this is a victory pretty much in their own mind, but they're still getting the attention, the spotlight, being covered by the media. So I would say this is very much in tune for both of these guys. So you have this, but subconsciously there's a lot of stuff weighing on them, and there's some decisions that would need to be made, because there is the shadow of all the stuff they've done, and that even though this one has a certain amount of immunity, there could be another sword to fall. That's what I keep thinking, and I have to say, intuitively, I'm feeling as though it's coming from overseas. I don't think there was enough to turn things around, and that's what I said. You got to have the evidence, but I'm going to say it's mounting, and he's worried about that, so he's going to have to decide of something to do. With Nixon, it was purely domestic thing. Okay, so we've got that. Then I'm going to say that as they kind of looked in the future a little bit as they got settled into office, let's see what we have. The Four of Pentacles in reverse. So I'm going to say that when this is upright, this is like really holding on to things, really, really grasping. But I'm going to say that in this case, where there could be similarities, is that in the glow of the victory and being sworn in, that kind of, I get a sense that with this one, and even in the artwork tells me this, is that, okay, I think we got away with stuff, so maybe now it's time to let it go and relax, but not quite entirely. So it's kind of like another one of these false things, making them think they're in the clear, but still, that it's still hanging over. And so so it's the first months go by, as far as this goes. Oh, the Three of Cups in reverse. Okay, so I'm going to say this is a card of celebration and commiserating together, but I'm going to say that in a sense, with all the baggage they're carrying, they really didn't have much to celebrate. And this really comes down to the whole thing about I just didn't see any joy in the MAGA crowd. I didn't see red hats being tossed up in the air and going woohoo. And I remember feeling that sense with Nixon, because we all felt like, there's something hanging over this, that it's too bad more didn't come out before the election, but everybody knew anyway. And so this is very similar. It's kind of like a lot of, I shouldn't say stupid, but I will. Stupid people did not think of this. And Nixon always dangled the carrot of that, and this is what got him in the first time. And then the re-election was kind of like he was going to get us out of Vietnam, and that was the big thing. We eventually left, but it really took a long time to do that. So in a way, there was a victory lap, but no real joy in it. So the conclusion for the first part would be for both of them. The Nine of Pentacles, and this is about being sort of insulated, and this is about prosperity. But and there's a lot of money, and I'm going to say that there was bag money and funny money in the Nixon thing, and follow the money, follow the money, and I think that that's true. But it's true with the oligarchs giving the present one all the money, but it's a trap because once you start getting the money, you owe people. There's no such thing as a free lunch, as my high school economics teacher used to tell us. So this is something of a trap, and this is maybe where they were about being beholden to people, but also the worries that come with that. Is there's someone that's going to blackmail them and spill the beans? So I would say very, very similar energy that's going on right now. And I think this is going to be a very interesting path to follow. And I think what I'm going to be doing is that because I've been tuned into the whole Watergate connection and the comparisons since for at least a couple of years now. So as soon as I get like a ping, oh, there we go, I will do this in addition to my regular readings on the energy. But everybody's talking about the executive orders. I can't say that I'm going to add anything to other readers that I've seen today because they're doing a good job. But I mean, I will be reading on the present thing, and also coming up is about taking care of ourselves during these times too. And I guess we can't get enough of that. But I would say that this is going to be a thread that I'm following, and I do get a sense that this will be going into the downfall, and I didn't get downfalls cards now because I'm looking at they're getting elected and into office and what the energy was. And it's, as I look into it and my, go down memory lane, it's really amazing that the similar energy, the circumstances are not quite the same, but the energy is very similar. So this is going to be very interesting to follow. So this will be a running theme. So at any rate, everybody stay cool and stay calm. That's the important thing. And I will see you again soon. Bye now.